Good morning, everyone. Actually, some of our students told me that, like Grace Kellett, she says, I talked to her yesterday and she goes, I have to basically lock myself in the room for the next 5 days and write a 30-page paper. And some other of our students said, I worry about some of my school friends because they're free on the weekends and I never get to see them if I'm always at church. So I said, it's okay, take care of your friends. You don't have to always come to church. So they're with us, as Kathy said, in heart. So, so the title of the sermon, 8 days a week, or Time, the Holy Days, and the Heavenly Calendar, Part 2. So, but before we go into that, I just want to say I'm glad we all weathered the storm. In case any of you are noticing my very bright pink stockings, I wore. I felt like we've had such dismal weather. I need a little pop of color. And originally I had a skirt on, and I thought, no, maybe I'll put that's too much pop. so I just put the skirt on, and actually, my husband and I reading Hoondoke this week. We were reading in the Champumogyang, and Father is talking about his early life and the meaning of his name. And he said that there's an expression in Korean that you say to one another after you've had a bad storm and it's really clear outside. You say, Sanmun hada. So even though, is that right, Reverend Kim? Sanmyang hada. So even though it's not really bright and shiny outside, let's just turn to one another and say, Sanmyang hada. And now you've learned some Korean. And it's a good thing to acknowledge that feeling when it's all bright and beautiful. So I don't know how many days it's going to be before we get to experience that, but at least we can claim it. So once again, I really want to thank our brothers and sisters from Boston for being such wonderful hosts and hostesses last week. I also have to acknowledge our young people that came from Worcester to help with the cleanup. But I got so many thank yous and wonderful feedback from brothers and sisters from last Sunday. And we even had, I think, some national and international impact, because Sunday morning before I came to church, last Sunday, early in the morning, for some reason I just looked at Facebook, and there was on the My Unification Church page, there was someone that had posted something about, what do you all remember from the holy days? Because I think there is this kind of like missing the holy days a little bit, celebration. So I wrote, well, here in Boston, we're having an old-fashioned holiday with a sermon, and I said, Uncle Frank Kaufman is coming, and music, and bulgogi, kimchi, japchae, ute, candy, the whole 9 yards. I said, we're doing all of it. So I think it was maybe 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, there's still time if anybody wants to come join us. And even just that, Larry Moffat, many of us know him, he just said, just reading about what you're doing really warmed my heart and brought back such wonderful memories. And then a few days later, I posted some of the pictures from our celebration on that page. And a lot of the same pictures that I put on the Boston Church page. And just some people said, oh, I'm so jealous, and I wish I could be there. And so I think maybe next year, brothers and sisters, we have to extend our reach a little bit, outside of Boston. So, also I mentioned last Sunday just briefly about some of the events that we had prior to the celebration on Sunday. And I didn't really think about it, but I realized that we were really actually quite in harmony with our True Mother in Korea, because whenever they have those kind of celebrations, Mother surrounds it with different kind of conferences and meetings, and they're all very big and international, and we're kind of just, kind of meager and local, but nevertheless, it was really meaningful. And I think some of it will be inspiring to you, so I just want to share a little bit more about a couple of the things that we did with Dr. Kaufman. So Friday night, we had a meeting with the primarily college students or just graduated college students that they meet every Friday. And So they have an already set meeting, so he joined the meeting, and he talked to them about how it was that many of us developed our developed our faith. That it wasn't just through listening to lectures, but it was because we did stuff together. We had to accomplish things, and we had to work together. So he was kind of challenging them to try to do something, and they're kind of looking at him like, yeah. Yoko Lux arrived with the student that she studies every week with Divine Principle with, and an Indian young man. And so I had everybody introduce themselves. Then as everyone around the circle introduced themselves, you realize, wow, these kids are all really different. Like, I'm studying mechanical engineering, I studied neuroscience, I'm biology, I'm in political. It's like there's not a lot of like common base. And then Michi was there too, but she mentioned about, we talked briefly about the concert that she had here when she had her launch. And at one point, Kim said, I don't know about that, Dr. Kaufman, but I think it would be like, we could really maybe come together in figuring out ways to use our building more. So I'm like, wow, this is great. And then everybody kind of perked up. And they were thinking, like Michi's into music, someone else is into sort of international studies, some kind of talk, someone else is, I don't know what the mechanical engineers talk about, what you could figure out what to do, maybe how to fix the building. But there was like, suddenly there was more energy. And this week I just want to read to you a little section. I received a letter from Michi Tassi, and she said, I thought I had this here. Yeah, there. Nope, sorry. Disappeared on me. Okay. Okay, here it is. Hi, Aunt Catherine. I wanted to talk to you about a couple of performances and regarding the use of the chapel. The first is for a New England Conservatory student named Melissa. For her final recital, she is arranging Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. It's an all-woman 16-piece ensemble, 8 vocalists, a small string section, and a rhythm section, guitar, bass, drums, synth, keys. She would be inviting friends and family and people from the New England Conservatory of Music, but would probably be a public event. She's hoping that we might be able to book one night, either May 14th, 15th, 16th, or 17th. Preferably Thursday, May 17th. The other is regarding an album release of a band called Bat House. Nicole Pompey was at my show and I believe talked to you a bit. She also plays drum in the ensemble I mentioned above. This would be a full band performance, and they're hoping to bring their own projector to experiment with video and music together. This performance would be late in the summer, probably in August, so obviously it would depend on if we still have the building, etc. I told both of them about sound curfews, but wanted to hear your thoughts and if you thought this is something that might be possible. Does that sound exciting? New England Conservatory of Music. Those are, people that go to the New England Conservatory tend to be more of the classical music type, but although Berklee and the New England Conservatory are working together. So it was very interesting because I had a conversation with David Eaton about doing exactly this with people from New England School, the New England Conservatory. But now it's kind of happening centered on our own resident in the building. So we'll see. Is that exciting? Do you find that exciting? I found that very exciting. So that was our Friday night. I think the young people were really starting to think about ways that they could work together to do things for not just each other, not just a gathering of second gen, but in the building. And then Saturday we had a conference, Is Peace Possible, with Dr. Kaufman, that I had discussed it with Heather Tallheimer, and I said, I would love to do it, but Heather, you kind of have to just do it because I got too much going on with the decorations and the flower arrangements and preparing for Saturday. So I participated, but I was also in and out. And she just wrote, you want to bring, actually I can do it. Wait a minute, I'm getting more advanced, brothers and sisters. Wait, this is on, but it's, no light is appearing. Oh, there we go. You had to press something. Okay. So this is a kind of a summation of what that Heather wrote, and Heather actually she has a blog, and she's going to provide more reflections on that workshop to put on also our Family Fed webpage. So, are you an interfaith activist? This was the question Dr. Frank Kaufman challenged us with last week at the seminar held here at the Boston Church entitled, "Is Peace Really Possible?" Dr. Kaufman suggested that peace is only possible when we cross over the boundaries that divide us. It is comforting to think that the United Nations can magically make peace in the world, but it's not going to happen that way. It's much more likely to happen person by person as we look beyond our differences and see the humanity in each other. The trouble is we are afraid to have those conversations, fearing that we will dilute our own faith or even lose our faith by engaging with other religious traditions. Interestingly enough, the opposite is true. Dr. Kaufman shared his experiences in creating interreligious dialogue and how that has deepened his own life of faith. He highly recommends that we all become interfaith activists. You can read more about this on our Boston Church Facebook page next week. Dr. Kaufman described Father as the greatest interfaith activist and examined his work to bring interreligious harmony and peace in the world. Father chose this route as the means to building peace instead of a political solution because Spirit is primary. Peace will be built when we allow our efforts to be led by the Spirit. Dr. Kaufman will be returning to Boston. I hope you all have the opportunity to experience one of his seminars. So I think a number of us here participated. As I mentioned last week, the youngest person was Luke, who's 15, and the oldest person was Dr. Saxon, who is almost 80. And she wrote to me a short text. I had it all ready, and then she said, "Pastor Ono, thank you so much for the heavenly experience I had Saturday. It fed my brain and heart so much that I did not attend Morning Star Baptist as planned. I wanted to be back with the Boston Church family. Let me know about Sunday service. Love, your sister Tina." So she really enjoyed herself. So that was Saturday, and we want to do more of those. And also, just for you to know, I'm in communication now with Damien Dunkley about the future of our building. So he had to go to Korea, and but he is committed to discussing more. So just to let you know, that's on the table. All right, so that's the report side of my sermon. Now we're just going to have a little bit of visual. I'm going to show some pictures. Okay, I think I am. There, I did too fast. Okay. That's okay. So this was our offering table. For those of you, not everybody saw it. It was made with Shelley Watanabe together with Tamami Okano, and then also Kenji helped. This is we can turn the lights down maybe. I get into the activity and I forget to take pictures. So these are kind of meager pictures and they don't really reflect all the activity, but you can see Letitia is cutting the pink paper to make more of the little blossoms for the tree down there, and Chloe, our very own Chloe, was in charge. And she was it was so cute, she was telling all these high school students what to do and how to do it. And then here, you can't really see, but this is Sam, Miranda, and I don't know, Sam, who else you were working with here, I can't remember. But they were connecting these to make a little flower chain for in the prayer room. And this was all happening this is Suja came by, and this is Sune giving her a hug. This is, I didn't get any pictures from our Friday meeting, but this is the youngest and the oldest. This is a few of the people that you can see here with Dr. Kaufman after the seminar. Here's a picture of the chapel. And then I asked Jofred to take pictures because everything looks so pretty. So you all saw a lot of this, but these were on, like, internationally, people were looking at these pictures of how things were, like that. These are some of the flower arrangements. And then, do you see Chloe right there? So I told Chloe for all eternity, like her contribution was like recognized. So it's up there for all to see. I thought that was doesn't our function look pretty? So I put that up and I said this was one of 4 different seating areas. You know, I went around on Sunday to each room and it was just so heavenly. To see all the little conversations that were going on. Sophie Moss mentioned that she felt like the charter room felt like a restaurant. You know, and it did. There was like tables of 4, and you had some young people at one table, some older people at another table. And I thought, that's a very artsy picture, don't you think? That's an Instagram picture, I think, maybe. And there's our 2018. And there's Dr. Kaufman giving the sermon. There's the cake. And then the Japanese tea and culture room, I heard from Yoko Miranda that some of our sisters got a little too comfortable there. They were only supposed to stay for 20 minutes, but they stayed for longer. And here's Eika Kuwahara and her daughters looking at the Japanese thing. And there's the sisters. There was one picture, I didn't put it, but on that chair in the back, Greg Odlin's wife was really tired, and she was sitting in that chair with, you know, those things you put on a mask to close so that light doesn't. She was taking a nap. So this kind of became too much the escape from in the senior citizens room. So we'll have to change it for next year. And Dr. Kaufman said he spent most of the afternoon just sitting there, and so many people came up and shared with him and talked with him, and he really enjoyed himself. Oh, there, do you see her? Right here? Oh, okay, and I think that's it for the pictures. So, once again, I just want to thank you. There was so much effort, especially, I can't mention everybody, but we know Yoko Miranda and Yoko Lux, Kineo Edgerly. The planning for God's Day starts long before. So maybe next year we'll start planning in November, and then everybody can get more involved. But thank you so much. It was really wonderful. So, okay. That pause wasn't because I was waiting for the applause. Okay. So, last week was our celebration of all of our holidays. So it should be a time where we feel like a fresh feeling, a feeling of a new beginning. And for me, sometimes when I'm so involved in the preparations, it's like if I can just make it through the day because I'm just exhausted. I've had that kind of experience. But then somewhere later in the next few days after God's Day or something, Heavenly Parent will really give me some deep inspiration. And I was surprised when Dr. Kaufman gave us his sermon title last week, because I also knew like we had some people here for the first time, and are they going to be scratching their heads? But okay, whatever, the food will be good. Actually, I was very grateful that he addressed, the issue of both Anshil and moving the emphasis on the lunar calendar, because I think it was really very much a disruption for all of us. And, we like things the way they've always been, and we like them like how we know what they're going to be, and it's been difficult for all of us in some ways. So I was just grateful, first of all, that he acknowledged that, and he did it in such a, it wasn't a complaining way. It was a kind of little bit humorous, a little bit explanatory, but there was something that he said that was like a turning point for me, or a point where just everything started to click into place. And it precipitated my own thoughts, and then this conversations that my husband and I had all week, where we just kept getting more and more kind of inspiration about these changes. So the thing which he said was, when he was talking about going from a 7-day week to an 8-day week, and he made some kind of joking comment, like, somebody said maybe it's like every day of the week can feel special now. Do y'all remember him saying that? But that to me, it was like a light went off inside. And it was directly related even to all the time that I've spent over the past 25 years preparing for holidays. I first started to make offering tables when we were in Seattle. And I started the tradition of the cookie tower. Fukiko-san, do you remember the cookie tower? We did it here for a while too, where you buy all different kinds of cookies, and then you're like a mason, only there's no cement. So building, circles of cookies higher and higher and more. And there's always some, where you're having like, oh, we've got 2 or 3 cookies left over, maybe someone should eat them. But I would think about something that I'd heard that Father said many years ago when he talked about the relationship of human beings, of a true person with the creation, and that the creation wants to be a part of a true person. So food wants to be eaten by a true person. And that Father once had some kind of spiritual experience where there was like a little grain of rice or something left on the plate, and it was like the rice was saying, eat me, don't leave me out, like that. So I would often think, I can't leave any cookies because they want to be on the offering table. So I'd make all this, how can I, fit it and put things down, maybe even break it in half and shove it. And then also in making flower arrangements, I would think of the same thing, that we would buy flowers for, the offering table for around the church, and you'd get an arrangement made, and there's a few left over, there's the broken flowers left over, and that's where, flowers first started appearing in the bathrooms, because those were like the broken ones. Well, what am I going to do with this? It wants to be part of our God's Day celebration. So I would make arrangements, to put in the bathroom, and so I've had that kind of relationship with creation for a long time. So when he said, like, the days of the week feel like, oh, now I get to be special, I kind of connected those two things. Can you understand? Does that make sense? That I thought, oh, like days of the week want to feel like they're special too. Always it was just Sunday. How come Sunday always just got to be special? What about me? Monday feels, what about me? And like just that little comment that he made kind of opened my heart to like Anshil. And instead of it being like a burden or something like, oops, I forgot again, or how are we going to do this? We've got school, we can't get up, all that kind of thing. It was like, oh, I need to make that day special for the sake of that day. And so it just was, it was very meaningful to me. And then that's when we were talking, and I thought about the Beatles song, 8 days a week. And I sent it to Dar, and then I played it for my husband, and then maybe a few hours later, my husband said, you have to play that at church. And I was already thinking of that, He said, the Beatles, they understood. So I went back and I looked up, Anshil, I couldn't remember when it started, and I found, I think this is, hopefully, this is, the history behind it is that Father first started talking about Anshil on April 19th, which was True Parents' Day 2004. And he said, today we make a new beginning. Every day should now become the Sabbath. So every day can be special. So I thought, yes, my thinking is like, see, proves it. Right? And so let me see, because so I started thinking about Anshil in this way, and then this week Anshil was on. Anybody remember? Or did y'all forget? What day was it? It was Thursday, March 1st. Okay, it was Thursday, March 1st. So I felt excited, because we honestly hadn't done Anshil in a while. And my husband was praying, and he suddenly started to pray about Samil, what is it, Reverend Kim? Yeah, the March 1st, remember the March, Samil Chul, 3-1 day, which was 1919. Do you all remember your Korean history a little bit? Anybody know what I'm talking about? It was during the time, it was 1919. It was during the time when Korea was under the domination of Japan. And centered on young people and religious people, they organized simultaneously on March 1st, all over Korea, demonstrations for liberation, for freedom, for declaring their rights. They were hoping to get some international attention. And there was one Korean young woman, Yu Guan-sun. She was 17 years old at the time. And she was so convicted that she then organized another rally a month later. And eventually she was arrested, imprisoned, tortured, and she died in prison at age of 18. And she's kind of seen as the Joan of Arc of Korea. And that stimulated the fervor and heart of the Korean people for freedom. So then Anchil became more meaningful to me because I thought, oh, wow, important things happen every day of the week, right? Every day of the week, something's happening. So I thought, even in our families, we could check the calendar. Okay, next week, Anchil's on Friday. So you could look, Friday, March 8th. What happened on Friday, March 8th? The old calendars, we used to get our church calendars from Korea. Do you remember? Almost every single day of the year was the proclamation day of something. We could ask Reverend Kim to let us know what that was. What did Father do on that day? What did Mother do a year ago or 2 years ago on that day? When my girls were in high school, their high school always had this little thing at the front door going, on this day, and it rotated among the students. I think the juniors, they would find what happened on that day, and then they would write it up. So I thought that could be something that you could do as a family, even to make that day special. How to make that day special. So for me, that part of his sermon kind of gave me a sort of a new view and a kind of a rebirth of appreciation for Anchil, as opposed to just kind of a grumbling attitude towards it, which was kind of what I had. Then on Tuesday night was the Foundation Day video, the link, right? It was Wednesday in Korea, but we watched it Tuesday night. And when I was watching it, and I felt like, oh, this kind of feels like an old-fashioned church holiday. Everybody's that's not in that big stadium, people are sitting kind of close together. The entertainment is just brothers and sisters, some from Japan, from America. It's kind of homegrown entertainment. And then Mother spoke, some, talking or whatever. And then, do y'all remember, for those of you that watched, what happened that day that made it feel like a holiday? Did you hear the announcement? They had a Ute game. Have you ever been to a Ute game in Korea? Has anyone here ever been to a Ute game in Korea besides Reverend Kim? It's crazy. It is so crazy. It's so loud, and it's so Koreans are kind of competitive, so it gets nuts. But it's so much fun too. And I thought, oh, here's the holiday that we kind of have used to experience. And then that, again, I talked with my husband about that, and then I said, well, it seems, because maybe it was 3 years ago or so was when Mother mentioned about how in the rest of the world, people celebrate Christmas, which is what? Jesus' birthday. In the East, Buddha's birthday is a very big time of celebration. So she said, we should have a big celebration for True Parents' birthday, right? And then Foundation Day, which is kind of marking a new beginning. But I think all of us kind of felt like, well, what happened to God's Day? That kind of feeling. That's what Frank was explaining, right? But I realized, oh, well, Foundation Day is a day of new beginning. Okay, I'm trying to not just follow along externally, but what is actually going on here? And then again, my husband says, okay, and I probably we're going to get into some numbers here, but bear with me. So December 25th is what? Christmas, right? 7 days after Christmas is what? New Year's, right? And then, do you all remember what was on January 13th? That was the coronation of God's kingship in 2000, right, Reverend Kim? 2000? 2001? 2000. Was it 2000 or 2001? 2001. Okay. Anyway, from that time, we started actually marking Charilgut. And I always wondered, like, why did we restart it? But anyhow, I think I got my answer. So we had those 3 kind of days, right? Then my husband pointed out, well, True Parents' birthday is on the 6th, the first month, the 6th day. 7 days later is Foundation Day, which is like a new beginning. But it's the lunar calendar. So I might be this is what I mean, me, brothers and sisters, but it inspired me to embrace this whole change. But the old God's Day was focused on the solar calendar. And the solar calendar sort of encompassed God's restoration history from the time of Jesus, right? So through our old God's Day, Father was trying to claim all of that. But then we started a new history on Foundation Day. We all say all these things, but our lives don't really feel that much different. Nothing has any changed. We see problems everywhere. But anyway, that's our proclamation, right? So then I felt like the lunar calendar was like a beginning of the new history. So all those dates, all those things had to sort of be reestablished. So for me, I could sort of connect from what my husband said, okay, 7 days after True Parents' birth, after Christmas comes the new beginning. Now, 7 days after True Parents' birthday comes the new beginning, which is Foundation Day. I don't know if it does anything for you all, but for me, I felt like, oh, I see, there's Father and Mother are really trying to create a new history. We're kind of caught in between just trying to live our lives and, keep our faith. But that's what they're doing. And so, and then on Friday I was out and I got a text from my husband and he said, next year, and this is exciting for us here in the Western world, the lunar calendar, True Parents' birthday and Foundation Day are on a Sunday, which means that we can actually have the celebration on the day. So anyway, all of that to me was just very meaningful, and I could begin, it's like my heart and my mind could begin to sort of grasp, all right, these are what is behind these changes that were so disruptive, because they really were disruptive to us. So my husband made the comment, all of us, we're not confused by H1 or H2, we're confused by the calendar. So, brothers and sisters, it's up to us, though, to somehow find the way to make our faith our own, to make these traditions our own and with our own families, and as a community. Judaism has existed for how many years? 4,000 years, right? 4,000, according to the principle. That's probably relative numbers, but anyway. And so much the Sabbath celebration was centered on the home. You go to synagogue, but the actual, a carrying on tradition was experienced in the home. So it's not, I think, for us, we need to figure out, family by family, how do we want to make these traditions meaningful? And I think there's I was kind of captive to, well, Father does it this way, so we have to do it this way. And I forced my family to do it that way. And they all just got angry and resentful at me. It didn't work, right? So, of course, there's always the best is, get up at 5 a.m. or whatever. But if that doesn't work, figure out something to do. Even if it's in the evening, some way to make those days special. And I want to end. This was the first Anshil. This was the first Anshil. And I forgot to mention about Ship Sung Il was, again, this is one of those Korean things, which was when Father, do you remember when Father was speaking about the age after the coming of heaven? So, I'm sorry for you young people, you're probably like, what is she talking about? But anyway, that was part of the quote. So this was all part of this change to Anshil. So Father said, we need love. After Ship Sung Il, which means the age after the coming of heaven, love will replace absolute authority. Only love will be able to exercise universal presence, authority, and power. So when I read that, I felt like, then as families, centered on, what's important is that however we honor these traditions, that we do it from a point of love. It's not just about doing it, the externals of which are a very Korean way of doing things. That's good, but at the same time, we can, if it's centered on love, what's important then is to figure out how do you honor that Sabbath day as it moves. And I thought as a community, maybe we can find ways to remind each other. And we can start to share, well, like, oops, we missed it, or we did it, or did you know that this happened on this day and that really moved me? And like, I think we can do something like that with one another, or at least within your family. And create that, begin to create that new history that our father and mother have given their lives to, and all of us have given our lives to, and that it exists even though we don't see it yet. So everything begins within the realm of spirit. That's one of the things Heather mentioned, why Father was looking for interfaith, because things start in the realm of spirit. So the change, even though we don't see change around us, we see chaos everywhere, right? Inside, outside, that can be very discouraging. But if you adjust your thinking and see, like, understand the value of our two parents' life and what they have done, despite all the difficulties and struggles and contradictions and everything, then I think there's tremendous kind of power and inspiration available for us that can give us a sense of renewal, a sense of new hope, and a sense of like we're moving in a positive direction. So 8 days a week, brothers and sisters. Learn that song, play that song. Dr. Kaufman told me somebody once found a Beatles song for every part of the principle. So maybe that's going to be next week's sermon. No. We'll just have a music, maybe we'll have a Beatles service sometime. You guys like that? Our musicians like that? We'll have a little, this song is about this part of the principle. We'll just put that little part of the principle up there, and then we'll get down and sing some songs. All right, so can you join me in prayer? Our beloved Heavenly Parent, the history of humankind is one that has, when we look at it externally, we see just a history of war and conflict, struggle, difficulty, despair, and death. That's how some people look at history. That's how some people look at life. And that leads them to develop a kind of fatalistic and cynical and negative view of life. But there's another history, Heavenly Parent, one of hope and love, of truth, of giving, that's expressed itself in many aspects of the world, not just the religious world, but the artistic world, the musical world, where their heart has resonated with your heart, whether they recognized it or not. Their heart has resonated with the goodness and the beauty and the truth and the purity that exists in the world. Our true parents came to push back against the darkness and to just be that catalyst to bring about a new world. When we live in this world, it does require some kind of a leap of faith or accessing a different part of our brain that's not so analytical or critical, that's more trusting, that's more hopeful, to see our true parents' vision, to see your vision, to see actually the vision of all religious people, Heavenly Parent. We want to be the people that can always, in many ways, not just huge, magnificent ways, but in just the littlest ways in our life, be that catalyst for change, be it within our own heart when we would tend towards like resentment and accusation, that we can catch ourselves and find forgiveness and love. Whether it be when we're driving and somebody in Boston does some stupid maneuver and we lose our temper, instead we give them a blessing. That we can reach out to people who are different from us just in little simple ways. Heavenly Parent, we want to do that because those things build up, and that we can proclaim wonderful and big things, but you can't build a building from the top down. You have to build a building from the bottom up. So our true parents from the top have provided us this great vision and great hope and kind of often give direction. But actually it's our responsibility to build those bricks, to put those bricks together, or that cookie tower together. And we don't want to leave anyone out or anything out, Heavenly Parent. We want everyone to be there and to be part of what we are trying to build. We pray that as we have begun now our new year, centered on the lunar year, that we can find a greater meaning and a greater purpose for our life and make those kind of goals or determinations that come from a place that we're excited about, that come from a place within us that we feel like we can continue, that we don't just feel obligated to do something. We thank you, Heavenly Parent, for what you have given us. We thank you for the brothers and sisters here. And I offer this report in the name of Hiromi and Catherine Ono, Blessed Central Family. Adieu.